Wow, where do I begin? Well, as you can probably see from here, it looks like the situation on planet Earth is becoming markedly worse. Just from the past couple of days ago, I made that video. Look how much more electrons are bleeding in on this Fock radiation belt at the lowest energy electron, lowest energy level. Then we got it over here on the highest energy electrons at their highest recorded level. And as you can see, planet Earth is being bathed in energy and electrons. Now we go up to the magnetopause, and I did a little research on this, and if you'll notice, the bow shock, or the magnetopause rather, the bow shock's out here. That's where we first encounter the solar wind, and it starts to be deflected. Much like a boat in the water, the bow of the boat would be our magnetosphere, and then the water that's pushed in front of it is the bow shock wave. Normally, an average bow shock or average magnetopause position is around 10 Earth radiuses. That's what this RE stands for. The satellites orbit at approximately 6 or 6.6 Earth radiuses. So you can see this is well below average for the magnetopause. And I noticed that the solar wind where is that one? Okay, what I was saying about the solar wind, this measures solar wind speed. There's the plasma density coming from the sun, and recorded at the Earth. This is also the same deal, plasma density recorded on the stereo A and stereo B satellites. Stereo B is way behind the Earth. Say the Earth is here. Here's the Earth. Stereo B is way out here. Stereo A is way out here. Or actually, it's over here and over here. But anyway, what I wanted to point out was the radial velocity. This is not a high solar wind speed. As you can see, this is running on a loop from the 17th. So here we got the 19th. And it's only around 500 kilometers per second. And it can go up to as high as 12,000, which would be the totally highest. Or no, 1200 rather. So it's 500 kilometers per second. Highest would be 1200, and that's in a severe solar storm. So what I wanted to point out is that there's no reason why our magnetopause should be being pushed this far close to our planet. Now, I'm becoming more and more convinced that this is all high energy stuff, all high energy electrons. It's blacks and purples. I mean, check it out here. You can see all the blacks and purples in here. And there it is all here, collecting around the Earth. Oh, this does not look good, folks. Whew. Anyway, here's the Z-cut showing the direction of the solar wind. This definitely measures. There's the bow shock. You can see we're getting a lot of distortions back here. The solar wind's being moved around and heading back toward the planet oftentimes, which that's not normal. And then this is all plasma energy building up behind the Earth, this blue stuff. And when it gets to a certain point, then it just gets ejected. And once again, you find the blacks and the purples within the plasma. So that further confirms for me that it definitely has something to do with the high electron counts that are evidenced here and here. Now let's get back to this IMF's interplanetary magnetic field lines. Remember I pointed out before in my previous video on 617 that we only have 9 planets or so there shouldn't be all these different interplanetary magnetic field lines. And look how they're getting all jumbled around. So there's like some serious disturbances going on there. Now one thing I did notice, this is another, this is called an Enlil. Also made, it's like a CME tracker. You can see it's running in a loop from the 15th to the 24th, I think, 25th. So we do have a CME coming out on the 16th, but here's Earth, so it's nowhere near the Earth. But what I wanted to point out, and this is something I just noticed, and have viewed this thing several times over the past several years, and you see all these little gradients, that are associated with these interplanetary magnetic field lines. And these are like waves of energy coming off the sun. Now, this might explain the all the different interplanetary magnetic field lines we're picking up here. And I'm sure there's plenty out in front of the planet as well. They're just not showing on this simulation. So here's my theory. The Nemesis binary twins in the neighborhood, and now its interplanetary magnetic field lines have become enmeshed or melded with the sun's interplanetary magnetic field lines, and there hence you have all these different gradients of magnetic fields that are present. And I mean, there's just tons of them. This didn't used to be like this before. It was clear-cut colors in between these magnetic field lines. And here's, of course, the planets, inner planets. The magnetic field lines going to the inner planets with the black-white representations. These other ones, I don't know, I think they're probably going to the outer planets. These white ones, they're just not showing the outer planets on this simulation. And these are some of the satellites. You can see the legend up here showing what they are, A and B. And like I pointed out, there's B, there's A, here's Earth, and that's Osiris Rex. Imagine that, an occult name for a satellite, which most of them all are, of course. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. So let's go back, keeping in mind about that magnetic field lines all enmeshed and melded together. This I pointed out in my last video that Mayenhausen channel brought up. This is on April 5th, and if you should watch my April 6th video, this one down here. And there's some other really good stuff in there too. But anyway, this one here, I pointed out that you see this magnetic resonance present. There it is. See how that magnetic resonance there? And then I showed you that it's also showing up now on the Earth, on the clouds. I mean, this is crazy stuff, folks. Looks like the planet has measles. And you can see it, it's all over the entire planet. It's still here. This is the today, right now shot. You can even see it at the lowest magnification. There it is. You can see it worldwide. Sort of a magnetic resonant grid pattern. I showed you the CAPE index in the last video that measures thunderstorm potential. Now with all these electrons bathing our atmosphere from space, and then you see all this low energy joules per kilogram just about everywhere where the dry air is. So like I told you, this dry air, it's saturated with acidic acid from vinegar, and it's been circumnavigating the globe for a while now. I've known about it since 2011, and other people have been knowing about it and putting out vinegar. So vinegar rules, definitely. It's the acidic acid's got way more staying power than the alkaline salt-based chemtrails clouds. So this is what's saving the planet right now, in my opinion, keeping the potential energy down and keeping the thunderstorms down, the lightning strikes down, and everything else down. So, I mean, definitely, if you see some severe weather coming your way, pump out a couple gallons of vinegar, just pour it outside. You can even pour it down your drain in the basement, as long as it makes it to the outside air. The chemical attraction is so strong between the acidic acid and the alkaline salts-based chem clouds that it'll go right to it, even if it's poured into water. There we got the next rad setup out here. A guy pointed out to me on my comment section in the last video. It's probably one of those TTA Tesla technology. I forget what the TTA stands for, but they're based in the ocean, actually underwater, and maybe they just board up an antenna up above the surface, and then they pump out these frequencies. But this has been going on since at least last summer, 24/7, pumping out this frequency across the United States and much of Mexico, which is raising the potential energy of our atmosphere to try to create storms to harm our country. It's all only conclusion I can draw. So let's get back to this space weather stuff for a minute. I got these two synced. These two are pretty much synced, and these three are synced. Have them back 300 frames or 300 whatever. I have them back as far as they can go, and then they're playing through pretty much on the same timeline. See, well, you can see it. You can see it up here. There's the timestamp and date stamp. It looks like there was a little glitch around 12. Let's watch that for a second. There's not really any missing time, so they're not hiding anything anymore. It is what it is. Let's see what happens around the 12. I seen it like jump back and forth a little bit, the clock. Oh yeah, we got some missing time there. Went from 12 all the way up to 19, it looked like. Oh no, there was the zeros. When it flipped over, kind of fluctuated. Let's see what happens when it gets up to 12 and see if it does jump to 19. So there would be some missing stuff there. So imagine what that looks like. Okay, there we go. 10, 11. Uh-oh. It went right to 19 and 20. So this looks pretty bad right here, but you can imagine what they're hiding from us between 1200 UTC and 1900 UTC. So anyway, this stuff's looking bad, guys. Here's the KP index the last 7 days. You can see all of a sudden it's starting to spike. But like I showed you, the solar wind speed's really not the cause of it. It's the weakening of our magnetosphere, apparently. Almost out of time, guys. So the best advice I can give you, it's a spiritual one. Trust in the Lord Christ Jesus. as he is the only ark of safety at this passing of this Nemesis Nibiru system.